welcome back to the Ambition Over Fear portal. I'm Atlas Opia, and today I want to talk about what to do after a spiritual awakening and ascension. It is an amazing thing to come into new awarenesses, because when you have an increased ability to understand this universe, the abilities that you have are going to increase. Your mystical powers are going to strengthen, and you'll realize that you're uncovering all this information so you can apply these new tools to the next phase of your life. So if you don't know how to apply the spiritual wisdom and knowledge you may be tapping into your everyday life, then this video is for you. Now, first off, I want to talk about the amazing feat of our human species, that as a collective, each and every single one of us is moving into our own type of awakening. And every one of us has our own shifts in consciousness that is part of this larger picture of our path and where we're going. And every single time we shift our consciousness in this body, it affects all the other reincarnations our soul has had that also experience the same theme of energy. So that mission that we all have to spread light to people, to help other people awaken, to guide our friends and family into new awarenesses of happiness and self-actualization, the feeling that we're trying to create something. And I know you, similar to me, when I came into my spiritual awareness, I wanted to infuse my entire life with this newfound way of being, and it eventually came into a position where I wanted to spread my own gifts to the world. And I know because you're watching this video that you also have that intense fire and motivation to create and to help people with your creative creations. And so there's an abundance of knowledge going through the world of how to awaken, right? How to ascend. And I see the process of coming into our soul's power in these steps. One, you realize that you're not an ego and a body, that is not your identity. You're actually an intergalactic soul having a human experience. And your soul, which is formless, is able to gain form by placing itself into a simulation where it is living out a certain role. So you're getting to experience what it is like to be a human. But in order for this unique matrix to really function and be so realistic that when humans are born, they forget that their soul is the entire universe. They place their power in things outside of them. In order for that level of realism to take place, this simulation of Earth, this beautiful creation, has to be very believable. And there are different stages in the collective consciousness. So in the past, we may have not been comfortable as a human race, understanding that we're actually an interdimensional soul with mystical powers and a connection to everything that has ever existed in the entire universe. But now our collective consciousness, which is the network of energy that every soul on Earth is plugged into in their human bodies, is ready to understand how to approach Mother Earth from a more expansive and articulate and clairvoyant perspective. So that's the step one. And a lot of philosophies teach this step, which is you're not a body, you're not your identity, you're not your thoughts or your emotions. You have those things, but they are not attached to your eternal existence. They are merely types of energy that you get to decide what you do with them. Now, step 2 is becoming the entire universe. Once you let go, you realize that your soul is a magnifying glass. It is a pair of glasses that you get to wear, and you get to see the parts of the universe that your body and your consciousness at that time is able to truly handle and embody. Because when you realize new pieces of information, you have to let go of the old. And so when you let go of the fact that you're not a body and you're not an ego or an identity, and your thoughts and emotions are simply different types of energy in that realm, but they're not you, they're what you're getting to experience, then you can release your consciousness into your soul, and your soul realizes that you're coming back home, and you realize the true authentic nature of reality, which is every single thing is a reflection of your own consciousness. You would not be able to experience any type of energy if you weren't a vibrational match. In order for you to actually have something come into your 5 senses, you have to be speaking the same language in order for that thing to even be comprehended by your reality. So when you realize you're the entire universe, you come into your psychic gifts, because you realize that knowing when something is going to happen, or what somebody is feeling, or how something is going to play out, is based off of you removing yourself from linear time, which is how the body is able to exist here, and you going into the field of the entire universe and just becoming what you're thinking about, because you realize that there is no separation. Everything is one. Now, step 3 is initially deciding what you do after your awakening and ascension. It is truly understanding that you came into this new realm of consciousness. You broke free of the matrix, you broke free of the idea that you are your name or your body, and you realized that everything is energy just vibrating so quickly that your human eye could not see it. But when you see through your pineal gland and your third eye, you're able to see everything is just layers of energy that are creating what you're able to be seen. Every single thing is energy from one dimension, flowing into another dimension, and then into the dimension at which you're actually experiencing the manifestation. So you woke up so you realize the game here on earth. You woke up so you understand that you're not a victim in this body, that you're not stuck in the experiences you're in, or the lifestyle that you've been living, or the version of self that you've unknowingly agreed to because you've had many years of experiences happen that have influenced your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind has created a series of beliefs and thoughts that then project out and create your reality. You're freeing yourself, and you're coming into this new awareness and new power so you can come into the matrix and reprogram the code. So you can come into the matrix and see everything as a reflection of your own consciousness, and see the background of energy that is creating the thing you're actually experiencing. So you can see the moving parts of the whole. But a lot of times we get stuck in this position where we're really feeling as if we have to be in our higher self or our body. We have to be in our higher dimensional consciousness or our lower dimensional consciousness. And I feel like in this world, I've seen a lot of people go through an awakening and ascension and not know how to reintegrate themselves back into their body or back into Mother Earth or back into the Matrix. And those people, and I've gone through this too, we kind of shame the Matrix, we shame our body because we don't understand that after the awakening we have another process, which is integrating that new awareness into the reincarnation we have now. So that's step 3, is truly the spiritual integration, and that's what this video is going to be about. So step 1 is how to achieve spiritual integration, and what to do after an awakening or ascension is realizing that now you're going to interact with the world much differently. You're going to interact with people differently. You're going to interact with your body and your identity here on Earth differently, because now you're no longer a product of the information that you were told growing up. Now you're no longer a product of what the other parts of society believe to be true. Now you're seeing things from your own perspective. So when this happens, you might feel a level of imbalance. You might feel a level of isolation. There will be times when you're kind of questioning, what is actually happening, and you're just along for the ride. What ends up happening in this step, and what can help you move through this more efficiently, is realizing that when you go into an awakening and an ascension, you are leaving your body for the most part, not 100%, but your consciousness is going more in your higher self, in your soul, in the higher realms of consciousness. And then after you get a majority of what you need to get done in that phase of your evolutionary consciousness done, you come back. And it may be unknowingly you come back into your body and on Earth and in the Matrix, but a lot of times we get this feeling of shadow coming up. And after a little bit of time through an awakening, we can feel like Earth is heavier and life is more stale because we've been in those high frequency places, and our body naturally floats down back into Earth. We naturally flow into the lower dimensions of our consciousness because we are pivoting from this reincarnation. So when you come back into your body, you're going to remember all the subconscious thoughts and beliefs that you may have held in your system before you went through the awakening. You may be faced with all the energy that is getting in the way of where you want to go, because after your awakening, you realize that everything is possible, and all you really have to do is get a hold on the idea that reality is a bendable illusion, and it's just energy creating physical things. So you can get behind the energy, you can change the physical things themselves. And so when you do that, you're going to have stronger desires, you're going to come into your purpose in a more clear way, and then you're going to have an idea of what you want to create, what you want to manifest. But in order for you to manifest that specific thing, you're going to have to face parts of your being, the different personalities or personality that you've embodied before the awakening that may be getting in the way of where you want to go. Every manifestation you're wanting to create comes with a corresponding characteristic that you have to embody in order for you to actually handle that manifestation and align with that energy. So you'll be faced with your shadow. And when that happens, don't feel as if this is too low vibe for you. Don't feel as if you're too spiritual to be going through long periods of depression or anger or healing. Because now that you've awakened, you have more tools to battle your own shadow and transmute it into the friend that it needs to be, so you can join with light and shadow instead of chasing light and running away from shadow and only utilizing 50% of your energetic system. And when you're doing shadow work, the whole purpose of that is to reprogram your subconscious mind so you can interact with the world and yourself in a more empowering manner, and so you can heal the ways you used to interact with the world and your body and the identities you may have unconsciously created. It's all about creating a new purpose for things. It's all about giving things a new meaning, right? So step 2 in that situation, when you're realizing that you've gone through an awakening and an ascension, and now it is time to apply that in heightened awareness into practical alchemy, so you can actually change things in the different dimensions of consciousness that you exist in, is realizing that you are going to have to explain to your brain the newly founded awarenesses that come into your conscious realm. All information is stored in your subconscious, and when you begin to move forward, you realize that the whole purpose of coming into a new realm of knowing is to apply that information so you can be more powerful moving forward. But see, your mind is used to believing in certain truths, and those truths exist strongly because you have repeatedly agreed to a certain belief system because you didn't know any better. You may have thought reality works like this, energy works like this. You may have had a certain understanding of life and what you have to do to get through it, and how reality works. And what you have to do is you have to realize that when you came into this matrix, the time you came into the collective consciousness, there was a certain version of the matrix that was installed, and that version is created based off of all the information people in the collective consciousness upload to the collective consciousness. So people upload information, that becomes a collective. The collective is getting fed information, and then when you come into the matrix, you assimilate to the collective and then drop into the realm of earth. So you'll have to re-explain things to your mind, because if you don't, it can lead to being split-minded. You're gonna have to feel more into, okay, my higher self knows this, but my mind still thinks it works like this. So you imagine your mind is sitting across from you, and you're having a conversation with your mind, and all this new information you're bringing in, feel into your mind, listen to its shadow, listen to how your mind disagrees with all the universal wisdom that is coming in. Those are the conversations you need to have next with your mind, as if it's a friend sitting across from you, and you're gently helping this friend come into a new place of understanding. Don't fight your mind, and don't leave it alone. Allow your mind to be updated with where you're going in your higher self. So that's step 2. And step 3 is realizing that how you interact with time is going to be much differently. Because when you are primarily feeling that you're just a human on earth, before your awakening and ascension, before you come to the knowing of the ways at which consciousness organizes itself to create things around you, You're going to be used to time being more linear. You're going to have an understanding that time is completely real, and that there is past, present, and future. And because your consciousness is primarily plugged into the third dimension, the rate of frequency that the third dimension runs on is much slower than the rate of frequency in the higher dimensions. The higher the dimension, the quicker wavelengths of energy and the more potency comes with that energy. And the lower the dimension, the slower the wavelengths, and the shorter they are, and the less powerful they are. So after your awakening, realize that you're going to be asked to come in and out of linear time. You have to realize that you are on Earth. So initially what's going to happen is you're going to go beyond time, and that is when you start getting psychic hits of your future. You start seeing things before they happen. You start getting mystical hits of different reincarnations that you have had. You start to get visions of different planets. When you're in that realm, that is when you're exploring the universe. That is when you're astral traveling to different parts of this universal structure, so you can truly experience more and gather more information and genuinely be entertained by all the cool things you're seeing. And no, astral traveling doesn't always mean you leave your body. It just means you're placing your consciousness somewhere beyond your body through your imagination. And so that will happen initially, but then you have to come into the structure of linear time, right? Because that way you're going to be more grounded. It's almost like you know that time is not real. And by not real, what I mean is linear time is not a structure that cannot be broken. Linear time allows our soul in this human body to have a way to assimilate to Earth, a way to match the speed of Earth, a way to match the speed of our body. But come into the structure of time again with an understanding that you can jump out of it when you need to, that you're going to go to your higher self when you're called to, and you're going to go into your body when you're called to. And sometimes you'll be going in and out of different dimensions. You just have to know, what is this present moment calling for? And just go and do that thing. But then return back to your body, because you are pivoting from this reincarnation. This is the focal point that you're experiencing everything from. So you have to be able to merge with the foundation of this reality, but also understanding you can go into different realms of consciousness and different dimensions when you need to. You can go out of time when you need to, but feel the structure of linear time itself, with the knowing that it's there just to help you be more human, right? So step 4, I'll say, is really looking at everything with a sense of neutrality. Really being more conscious that everything is a unique form of the universe expressing itself in that type of energy. That when you experience emotions and when you have things happen to you and you go through challenges or adversities, it is no longer about chasing the pleasure and running away from the pain, but seeing entertainment in both the pleasure and the pain, realizing that every single type of energy, whether it's empowering or disempowering, is at its base core a unique energetic code, right? Negative emotions are no longer negative, because you're appreciating the anger, you're appreciating the depression. You're asking yourself, this frequency of this emotion, seems very interesting. This anger is powerful, or this depression lets me in on the opposite spectrum of life. You start using everything to your advantage because you're now the alchemist and not the victim. You don't need to gravitate towards one side of the spectrum, right? People always go towards light. You can't master light if you're unable to tap into the language of your shadow, because there will always be an imbalance. In order for you to truly be of light, you have to know how to communicate in shadow, because otherwise, whenever something comes up that has shadow-like properties, you're not going to be able to harness it. You're not going to be able to protect yourself. You won't be able to understand it, and that's going to leave you on one side of the inventory that is all the universe. So after your awakening and ascension, you're wanting to look at everything with more value. You're wanting to see the layers of energy that have to come together to create something. You're moving into seeing things as a philosopher, as a wizard, as a magician, and being curious about how everything is created. And you go beyond the limits of your own mind. So it's the time for you to explore and see value in everything, and see the power of everything as it's unique in the form at which it comes. And yeah, and step 5 is truly being more solid. Step 5 is you using the resilience that was created from your time and process of the awakening state, of the ascended state. Going through all of those things really can give you a level of resilience that nothing on earth can compare to, because you're going through your own type of spiritual war in yourself. War not meaning something is trying to take out something else, but there are two competing energies trying to hold that frequency, right? That's what the idea of war is. You go beyond what that means on earth, and what it really means is there is two things competing to survive. And so your ability to make it through that stage of your consciousness, your ability to climb that level of uncomfortability and let go of beliefs you once knew, and be in that free-falling state where you're trusting and you're open to new experiences because you have to be. That's going to carry forward so you can build a better career, be more courageous in life, be more outgoing, and be more resilient. So use that strength that you had to cultivate through your awakening and ascension in other areas of life. Okay? Thank you guys for being a part of this video. And I make videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Please subscribe if you are interested in expanding your own abilities as an alchemist and a wizard. And when I say those words, if it feels powerful inside, and if you feel a call to it. I also offer galactic quantum coaching for the souls that desire to understand more, right? You may have a reincarnation as a starseed, God seed being, angelic being, and there may be a part of you that you haven't found out yet, right? There may be a part of your akashic records, which is the database of information on your soul, that you just may not know yet. And that could affect how you approach your purpose, whether it be your mission here on earth, you know, your career, what you're creating. If you understand that you are and have been different galactic beings, and your job here is to remember which beings are connected to the current reason you're on earth, you can realize that you may be wanting to help. You may be called to help the higher dimensions and the beings that you're connected to are really reaching out to you. So you can remember that you're supposed to be helping them. You're supposed to be helping change the grid work of energy in the higher dimensions, or creating new portals of energy in the higher dimensions, or bringing different resources to your family in the reincarnation you had as that galactic being, because there is no past lives. Everything is happening at the same time, because time is only real in this third dimension. So whatever you do now is affecting the reincarnation you had as that being. And by you realizing you're that being, you could operate as that being in this body. But what you need is to understand galactic quantum skill sets. You need to know, how do you do these interesting things in the universe? And truly, these things are not being explained. I feel like when I was coming into myself, people just told me a lot of fluff language. They didn't properly break down the concepts. And there wasn't a level of divine masculine in the explanations that was given. So I had to come up with my own understanding of what skill sets does an alchemist or wizard need, and why do they need those skill sets, and how can they actually execute those skill sets and powers and gifts. And the answer is being explained things in an articulate manner so your brain can understand them. So whether you want to understand how to change the structure of different planetary systems, because that is your job as that being, that is what the reincarnation in that alternate universe is doing right now, you may need to understand how to actually operate from this position. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Much love. Stay in joy and simplicity, and I'll see you every Tuesday and Thursday.